Hey guys, this is Mark Shawzin, the Pattern Trader. I'm going to be answering a couple questions in a question and answer session today. If you want to check in, talk about the markets are exploding today, the stock markets. I texted two words to a friend of mine this morning, melt up, think melt up. And that's exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing a melt up in Tesla, Beyond Meat, CrowdStrike, and just about every other name in the Nasdaq. So I just had a feeling that we were coiling, and I loaded up actually in the pre-market session. I started buying Tesla, Beyond Meat in the pre-market session. I bought options. I bought calls. I bought the stock. I just went crazy and just started loading up on a few of the names in the Nasdaq. I think that we're literally going to get a melt up here. So check in. We can talk about a lot of the markets, any markets that is on your mind. The markets are exploding today. All of these markets are up higher. Certainly the stock markets. So that's what I'm focused on. The currency markets have kind of gone to sleep. So when one market goes to sleep, I go and check out where the action is in another market. I always want to have my money put to work somewhere. So we're getting this absolute melt up market condition here in the NASDAQ. So let me know if you guys want to talk about anything. We're just having a melt up, a combination of a short squeeze, stocks like Beyond Meat that have built up. I'm sorry, not Beyond Meat, QuantumScape that I've been shorting for weeks and weeks. Got to a level and they're just like a beach ball underwater, exploded once you let the valve off. So you're getting this huge short covering explosion going on in the markets. Dre wants to know about oil. It's one market that I'm not watching these days. Oil's just kind of trading between, let me go to the oil market real quick here, 66 and 76. So, oil's a bit range bound. It's, found a lot of resistance at the $66 level. I think it's just going to trade between, 55 and 65. So, I have no idea where it's going to go. It really hit a pocket of resistance. I don't know if I would short it here. So I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't short it. It's kind of not even on my radar right now. So I try and look for markets that have a clean, look from one level to the other. And I sent out an email to those on my daily program. It's called the Elite Program last night to put a buy stop in BYND. I'll put the ticker symbol there. It's Beyond Meat. Now, this is ironically is a name that I've been shorting for the last several weeks. I predicted at $200 that it was going to drop under $115, and it went to $100, and then it kind of went back above the neckline. So now it looks like a bear trap. And when these bear traps are sprung, you get these short squeezes. It can really literally get you by the nuts and not let you go. So I am just long a monster amount of call options and stocks in Beyond Meat. I'm up over 200% on calls that I bought this morning. And I think that's a stock that could explode. I think Tesla is going to explode. I really thought I was bearish on Tesla, but when the market action doesn't confirm, or corroborates what you're thinking, get out. And, now I'm like really of the opposite mind because Tesla didn't go lower. I think it could go a lot higher. I think it's going to go back to at least 640, 650, 660, and maybe back to 1,000. So I think that there just feels like there's this incredible short squeeze that's going to happen in the NASDAQ, that this thing could pop substantially higher. So I'm long Tesla, I'm long BYND, I'm long some triple Q calls. So I just feel like this NASDAQ is going to explode higher. CrowdStrike, I started buying CrowdStrike at 291. It hit. I'm I'm sorry. One. Where is CrowdStrike here? 29. I bought it at 191 last week when the Dow was down $500, and now it's at 221. Hey, Jeff from Tampa. I'm on the other side of the state in Southeast Florida. So tell me what you guys are doing. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know if you have any questions. To my mind, BYND feels like a short squeeze. So it dipped under this long-term neckline around $113. It went to about 100 and then turned tail. And I think now it's a bear trap. So anybody who chased, that market momentum under $150 is now trapped. And whenever the market sets these bear traps, they can unspring and uncoil, very, very quickly. So you're up already 6% today, but I think you could keep just exploding higher. So let me know what you guys are thinking. QS, I got out, Scott. I got out today. It's like when it's a slow drip and I started looking at Tesla last night. You had this little inside day bar. And then I looked at Beyond Meat. And you had this little inside day bar yesterday, and I could see that they were going to explode higher. I started getting the feeling that we were kind of building a trap in here. So right at the beginning, right at the opening, I blew out of QuantumScape. And, now it's just going the other way. Now you could get a short squeeze in QuantumScape. You could see that thing back at $35. So I think this is a short squeeze environment where, this thing is just going to keep going and probably go a lot higher or bigger than people think. At least I hope so. I am very long BYND and Tesla. Jeff said, is there a mini market? So I think, some of these, brokerages, a lot of brokerages now offer fractional shares where you don't have to buy an entire, 100 share increments. I think, Jeff, you can start trading, fractional shares on most brokers. I know Robinhood, you certainly can. And I think Fidelity and these other brokers are offering fractional trading. I don't know. Obviously, I'm buying these bigger share amounts, but I think BYND feels like I hated that stock when it was at $200. I said it's going to go, below $115, and it did that. That was then, and this is now. And now, by virtue of the way this is turned tail, I think it could keep exploding in the other direction. So do you guys any questions? Are you guys looking at anything? FX, gold, whatever you guys want to talk about. I'm happy to, talk about, the markets for now. Yeah, so QuantumScape's up 11% today. So that's what happens when you kind of go and put pressure, and then you can't, put any more pressure, and then you let the pressure off, it just explodes the other way. So, I was thinking last night, I felt so much pressure being short. I wanted to get out in the worst way. I just felt like, I've been shorting this thing from $42 all the way down to 24. And so it's, time to go out of that thing and try something new. Edith says, what do you think about dollar yen? So dollar yen is really curious to me. I think it's going to go lower. But it's kind of finding its sea legs right here. It looks like it's coiling right at this resistance breakout. So I could see it going either way. And Edith, the way I would play dollar yen is that I wouldn't go in right now. I don't think there's any need to. I wouldn't buy it or sell it at the market. I would put a sell stop under like 108, and I would put a buy stop, around 110.5. And that way, let the market do all the work. Let the market do all the thinking for you. So I think if it starts, breaking out of this resistance line, it could really uncoil the other way. On the other hand, I still feel it's going to go lower. So, but it's just in this coil. You can see that, in the last 5 weeks, the have all been compressed one inside the other. So it's getting tighter and tighter. It's like this kind of a quantumscape compression. Like you build this energy, and then when you uncork, you're going to go one way or another. And I could kind of make a case for it going either way right now. I mean, the other yen pairs like euro yen and pound yen look like they're breaking out to the upside. So I'm starting to think, well, dollar yen is going to start doing that too. But you can't trade all of these pairs, the same. So I am watching dollar yen. I'm not doing anything right now. I kind of like I said, if it got above 111, I'd probably start getting long. If it got below 108, I'd probably get short. But right now, I'm leaving it alone. Everyone's asking about pound New Zealand. Yeah, that thing's just, been on a carnival ride. Every time it goes down, it looks like it's the end of the world, and then it finds a way to go back up. So, this is obviously terrible price action, but I still feel that I can't see it going through the lows. So, I don't know. Every sell off in pound New Zealand, as scary as it looks like a buying opportunity, and I'll bet you this is the same. It's probably a buy somewhere in here, but I don't buy into it a day like today. It's like catching a falling knife. Tomorrow, if it makes a new low and then closes on the high and does some kind of reversal so that I can see how to get in and where my risk is, I would play around with that. But right now, it's just in this giant carnival ride, and that's why I'm putting most of my energy into trading stocks, because I just think Forex right now is just very range bound. Henry says, when you're looking at price action, how much importance do you place on volume? I don't look at volume at all. It's kind of like that old stockbroker joke. He calls his client up and he goes, I've got some good news and some bad news. And the guy goes, well, give me the bad news first. He goes, well, your stock got crushed. You're down about 90% on your portfolio. And the guy goes, oh my God, what can possibly be the good news? And he says the stock's down on lower volume. So that's how much volume really matters. Its price is the only thing that counts. So Paul says, I'm being killed by being long AYX, probably short. I got out AYX, it had this kind of descending line. And when it broke above there today, I'm not obstinate. I put a buy stop at 77.95 and I got taken out of that. I lost a bunch of money on some put options, a bunch of money on being short the stock. But, I love getting clean. So yeah, I took like a 50 grand bath in AYX. But guess what? Now I'm on to, being long BYND and being long Tesla. So, I get out of the losers, get clean, and, just put that in the rear view mirror. Can't win them all. And so, yeah, I'm out of AYX, and what doesn't go down is going to go up, and I'm out of that name. So I thought it would go down. It didn't. I'm out. I'm now looking at just other things. And so I've kind of gotten to this very high level, and actually I'm even impressed with myself in terms of, I don't think of the markets in terms of money anymore. So even I've made these just humongous gains in the last couple of weeks. $500,000 on trades, $300,000 on trades. I'm probably up about $100,000 collectively on all my, call options and stock trades today. And I don't really see the money anymore. I don't see the wins and I don't see the losses. So yeah, I mean, be up $300,000 on QuantumScape, from one day to the next, yesterday. I made $500,000 in 2 days on some put options, and it doesn't make my heart skip a beat. I don't see the money anymore. I don't really think in terms of money. I think in terms of, okay, that was a trade. It went the way I thought. I cleaned out. Now I'm focused on the next trade. And it's the same thing with AYX. I was in this thing for a week, and I hate being in something this long. And then if it doesn't work for you after a while, that starts to feel wrong. So AYX, it either had to go or didn't go. And I'm glad, I'm kind of glad that it just, made a decision for me. I got out at a loss and I got clean. So I'm now out of that name. I took a $50,000 loss. I don't even see the money. It just means I'm out of that name, and now it allows me to kind of focus on the next horizon. So now my next horizon is BYND. My next horizon is Tesla. And so I just look at the setup. Is the setup working? Fine. I'm going to keep working with it. Then price tells me when it's when the game's up. And when to get out. So frankly, I thought Tesla was going to keep going down last week, but I saw these key reversals, and I just couldn't see in my mind that Tesla was going to go down. So if something's not going to go down, it's going to go higher, even though I really thought it was going to be, go bearish. So I just moved from the setup to the setup, and the setups that work, I just keep letting them work until they don't. And the ones that aren't working, I just clean out and just keep on moving on. And I really don't look at it in terms of money anymore. I just look at it in terms of the purity of the setup. Is the setup working? Do I want to still be in this trade? Does it make sense to be in this trade? And if it doesn't, get out, dump it, and move on. I'm not going to spend the morning crying that I lost 50 grand in AYX. So, we've talked about pound New Zealand. It's obviously dumping today, but it does this every couple of days. It goes to 198, dumps to 192, and then it's right back up there again. So I just think that it's a carnival ride, and you just got to trust that. Ultimately, I think this thing is going to go higher. But I wouldn't just rush in and buy it here. I'd wait for one bar, where it makes a new low, closes on the high, and then that tells you that the momentum is ready to go higher, and also where your risk is. So to me, I look at the market in terms of risk reward, and I try and find a setup, of bars. So if you look at Tesla, the day before last, you had a huge key reversal, went to a low, closed on the high. And then yesterday, you had this little itty bitty inside bar where the range of yesterday from I was like 615 to 595 was literally inside the range of the previous day. So I bought it right this morning, right around 603, right in the pre-market session. And in my mind, my stop was below yesterday's low, 595. So once I kind of see the setups and where the risk is, that's how I get it. To me, trading is not only figuring out how much you want to make or where you think this can go, but what is your risk? And I try and find entries where I can understand the risk. And the better you can understand the risk, the bigger your trade can be. I mean, depending on how much your risk, you think it's going to be, and then how comfortable you can get with that trade. So with BYND and Tesla, I started loading up in the pre-market session, feeling that I had little to no risk in those names. So MK, you asked about SXC yesterday. Just because Michael Burry's doing something, he also bought a whole bunch of puts on Tesla. He bought $1.5 billion, puts on Tesla. So just because he's doing something, doesn't mean that he's going to be right. I look at this thing and it looks like I wouldn't do anything right now. If it got back above 830. Then I would get back in this thing. Right now, it looks like it's just hanging here. And, Michael Burry's an extremely long-term player. And, so he's doing things for his reason. I'm looking at things, through, you have to make your trading authentic to yourself. If you're going to, chase your self-styled gurus, I mean, Kathy Woods was, she could do no wrong. She runs the ARC ETF. For 3 years, she could do no wrong. And then all of a sudden that thing got whacked in half. So, you have to do your own thinking in this game. You have to, look at your own risk reward dynamics. And if you're going to trade based on, what's on the news now, what some, analyst is saying, market doesn't work that way. I mean, I'm back long BYND now, but about a month ago, an analyst came out and said BYND was going to go to $186. And this is when BYND was trading at 147. And I said, I don't know what that guy's smoking, to say it's going to go to $186. I think this is going lower. And it ended up going from 147 all the way to $100. Now it looks like it could go back to 186. So the marking is all about timing. And if you have a couple $1 billion in reserve like Michael Burry and you have a 3-year horizon, then, that's how you trade. But, my horizons are very different. My objectives are very different. And so don't, you can't just chase everything that these self-styled gurus are doing. Um, what else are you guys looking at? So I'm just still looking at the board here, and Tesla went to about 625. It's backed off to about 620, but I think it's going higher. And I've been really bearish on Tesla. So that's the thing. You have to, you got to be very careful of your own biases. And I am, I know when I'm, thinking that everything's going down or I think Tesla's going down and I have a preconceived notion. But then, the prices, last week, prices went to like 550, went to the low and then closed at the high. And, whenever prices start doing a dance, that I thought Zoom was going to go a lot lower. So when Zoom broke, 300, I thought we were going a lot lower. We went to 275 and then we had 2 days where it went to 275, closed much higher, went back to 275, closed much higher. And I go, I'm out. You have a double bottom there. You have this key reversal price action. And I put out a letter 2 weeks ago to my members, and I said, I believe we put in a trading bottom. I believe that all the names that I was shorting, Peloton, Tesla, Zoom, we're now actually going to go higher. And that's exactly what's happened. So you got to surrender to what the market's telling you, and be very careful of your biases. So Mason says, I've learned a lot from you. So thank you for that. So Pedro says, QuantumScape's moving lower for now. I'm going to leave QuantumScape alone for now. I'm moving on to, different horizons. QuantumScape is probably, in the short squeeze, and, short squeezes can really squeeze you. So, I don't know how far, or how much higher that thing's going to go. Yeah, so Scott, I saw that UVXY did a reverse split today. As these indexes keep going higher and higher, UVXY yesterday was trading at $4. So, the higher the market goes, that instrument will go to zero. So now they got to restart it again. So yeah, that's what happens. It did a reverse split. UVXY is an inverse ETF on the S&P. So as the S&P keeps going higher, UVXY keeps going lower. Yesterday it was around $4, and it was on its way to zero. So they got to restructure that ETF again. I'm amazed they did a 10-to-1. But I guess that's how fast the market's going up. Is that they don't want to be back to $4 again next week when the S&P is at new highs. Jeff wants to know about Australia and U.S. So again, the dollar pairs have been, kind of locked up in this trading range. And, during the summer, it can get, you can see it just, odd U.S. has been between 75.5 and 78.5, or even locked up much more than that, probably 76 to 78. It's been banging in this 200 pip range for 3 months now. So I do think that the dollar does go lower, but it just looks like we could be banging around here a lot more. Forex can just go quiet. It can just go into these very expanded trading ranges. So when something kind of goes to sleep like this, then I'm not going to put my money or my mind in something that's just not going anywhere. It's like pushing on a string. So I want to get, some movement out of my money. And so I got one eye on it. I think Australian dollar US does break out to the upside at some point, but it could be 2 months from now. So I'm kind of just not, FX, I like the yen pairs. To me, the yen pairs are starting to set up for some kind of play. But I think even euro yen and pound yen, even though they may go higher, they're at such key resistance levels that they could also bang around here for another couple of weeks or months. So, all of the action right now is in the NASDAQ, in the stock market. So that's kind of where my attention is. I want to see where things move from one level to the other. I short a QuantumScape from 42, went to 24 yesterday, took all kinds of money out in that. Now I'm in Beyond Meat, Tesla. Let's see where that goes. And so, you just move, you got to surrender to the will of the market, and I'm always looking for markets that look like they're going from one direction to another. So Pedro says, do you still think Tesla is close to kissing from below the upward trend line? So the upward trend line, broke out from, and now it's sneaking back up to it. And I think it's got, the retest is it's still higher. It's like 640 to 660. And the way this is looking, I don't know. I think we go back to 640 or 660 on Tesla at least. But if you told me this is going back to $1,000, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think that this is putting on a move now that it's putting on this double bottom at this 550 level that looks like it could really now uncoil. So I think that, this thing's got at least legs back to, 650, 660, right now. Then we'll see what it does there. But I get a feeling that this thing, I don't know. I was writing it off. I thought it was going to get cut in half. And that's why, I let the market, I surrender to the market. And, then, I change according to what the market's telling me. And I try and get back in sync with what the market's telling me. So I made a whole bunch of money shorting Tesla on the way down. And I was looking for some kind of bounce and then get short again. But when I saw those key reversals, I said, in fact, I did a whole coaching session last night. And we talked about Tesla, and I asked a whole bunch of people, I didn't put the name on the chart. I said, what do you think about this chart? Where do you think it's going? Some people said it was going up, some didn't. And I said, I just couldn't draw a picture in my mind because of these key reversals. I couldn't make the case. I couldn't see it going lower. So if something can't go lower, it's going to go higher. So yesterday's high was 615. So I said to my group last night, just put a buy stop above 615. Now I jumped the gun. I started buying Tesla in the pre-market session around 603 because I already thought we were going to get past that 615. But, if you wanted to be really sure, you could have put a buy stop at 615 and now it's at 622. Now you're in this thing and now you're, just let it go. And I think this thing goes, man. I think it goes to 650, 660 on this push. MG, I'm long calls. I'm long up the yin yang on BYND. I mean, I must have 1,000 calls on BYND. So, yeah. I mean, I was making a lot this morning. It's pulled back a little bit. And I get scared when I'm so loaded up. And these expire on Friday. So, one little pullback, today or tomorrow, and, I get wiped out. So I got very long BYND. I bought the stock this morning at 121.5. And then I bought the 125 calls. And then I bought the 126 calls. And we're trading about 125 now. We went to about 127. So we have backed off a little bit. but I'm just looking for, one more push, either today or tomorrow. It gets a little dicey, but I just feel like you're in such a short squeeze with BYND. And that was another thing. My perception was that thing's going down, and it did this U-turn, went under the neckline at 115, then curled back up. And I just think that's, kind of a bear trap under 115, that anybody who chased those lows is now trapped, and it's now going to go a lot higher. Yeah, so I hope I'm right. I got just a huge bet on BYND. S&P with so I think those key reversals in the indexes yesterday, Pedro, were kind of a misdirect. So whenever the market does a reversal and then they don't follow through, and today now they're pushing back, that's why I feel like you're going to get this short squeeze, because it just felt like these things wanted to go down, and what doesn't go down, when it goes up, it's just going to go up with a vengeance. And I think when something's at a new high right now, like all of these indexes, even if they're going to fail, usually before they fail, so it's like gold. You remember the last couple of weeks before gold went to 2,100, it just had these massive moves. For 3 weeks, you had $100, weekly bar in gold. And so toward the end of a move, they actually get much bigger. The spikes get much bigger. And that's why I think, these NASDAQ, these indexes are, they may be close to an end, but before they end, they're probably going to do a huge push. It's like Bitcoin, before it ended, went from 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, 65,000, then the crash. So I think, it just feels like you're just going to get a huge push now in these indexes. And I hope that's the case. BYND is kind of backing off here, but I'm sticking to it. And I think Tesla is, and again, I've changed 100%, from last week on my posture on Tesla. When Tesla broke out of that triangle, I thought maybe it was a huge breakout to the downside that, would take this thing down to $450. And now I could see it going to 1,000. So that's how you've got to be fluid. If you have any locked or fixed ideas, the market will change it for you very quickly. Edith says, what about dollar Canadian? So I advised our members to get out of dollar Canadian last week, just because you're at this long-term support area around 120. And so you can see that we're starting to find some support here at 120. I think that I wouldn't look for a huge bounce, but if you get another pullback to 124, I'd probably look to short that. But right now, I'm out of all of my dollar positions, and the dollar's at a support level. It looks like it can go lower, but it's at this long-term support, and it can bang around here for weeks or months. So just because it's looking like it's at the low end of the range, it doesn't mean that it can't go a lot lower. So I'm out of my dollar positions, even though I think that the dollar will go weaker long term, and that's why I got out of gold too, because I just feel like you're at these resistance levels, and so I'm out of just FX and gold and all of that. I've got some positions in pound New Zealand, and I may get brazen and buy the dip tomorrow if we get one. So Michael says, can you explain your exit on gold? It was kind of nothing more than a feeling. I made a huge amount of money, and I just felt like there's some resistance all the way at 1950, and obviously we fell well short of that. But I just felt like the dollars, so gold is still at the high. It's still at 1902. I just feel like we're in this resistance zone at 1950 to 1900. And, it's the path of least resistance in gold is still higher. It just, I don't know where, some severe resistance is going to kick in. I don't know if I'll wake up one night and it'll be down $50 on me. So, I just got out. And that may be the wrong play because, gold could keep going higher. So, yeah, there was no exit day bar, Michael. It was, I bought it at 1831 and I had a take profit around 1878. Pretty arbitrary. So I made whatever, 400 pips. And, now it's, $20 higher than that. Let's see what happens. I'll wait for another pullback or some other, so it's just kind of gone straight up right now. And there's no good example. It's kind of broken out. Gold had this descending resistance line and it broke above that. So, I really should be long gold. I'm just not. I just, can't be everywhere. There's, some earnings on Snow tonight, SNOW. And, that name also feels like, what can't get pushed lower is going to go higher. So, probably get an explosion on that. Why this BYND has kind of backed off its highs, which is not what I want to see happening 2 days before expiration. I've got just such a big bet. I'm still making a huge amount of money, but I'm sure I've lost a whole bunch of money just sitting on this call right now. It's backed off about $2, but I'm just betting on this momentum. So John says I've been long gold for 2 weeks. So really, the right thing has been to be long gold. It's got this double bottom, at a weekly support area. It broke out of the resistance, and the right play is to be long gold. I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of resistance between 1900 and 1950. So maybe I should have waited for it to get a little higher. I just, didn't want it to be one day where it goes to 1920 and then it's at 1870. And so I'm out and I'll look for another place to get in. But it looks like the right move is still to be long gold. So Tesla's coming back up to the highs of the day. I think Tesla could go up $40 today. So, I've been kind of just playing these names. I was short dollar Canadian for many weeks. I made a bunch of money there. I was long gold and silver. I made a bunch of money there. And now I'm, riding BYND and TSLA. And, I'm not really looking at a lot of these FX pairs. And that's just situational. It just whatever the environment is, I want to play in the most fertile, sand pit. I want to play in the most fertile environment. So, I think that's a big thing that I kind of maybe leave out of my presentations is that we all look at our trading setups, double bottom, reversals, what have you. But I've recognized that I could see a double bottom in one period, like I saw in January in Lyft, where I bought a double bottom in Lyft at $45 and the thing went to $65. And then I could see the very same setup in whatever instrument. And maybe just because the environment's changed that, it doesn't go anywhere. So sometimes, we get into these things where we start questioning our trading methodology, but it's sometimes just the environment you're trading in. And, if the environment, there's no volatility there, sometimes you're just pushing on a string. There's just nothing to be had because the environment's changed. So I try and get a temperature for the environment as much as, the instrument. When I see a setup and going, is there an environment where this is conducive to this thing, making a move? might buy some more BYND calls on this pullback. All right, guys, you want to talk about anything else? So I think, this is just the quiet part of the market, between 11 a.m. Eastern time to like 2 p.m. Eastern time. The market just goes into this, backing and filling, and then it really kind of tells you where it wants to go, like 2:33, 3:15, even like 15 minutes before the market closes, you can see these huge pushes. So I might use this pullback in BYND to even, load up on some more calls. So Michael says, I typically do these YouTubes at 11 a.m. I came here, at 12 noon today. I just got busy with some other things. So I try and, do Monday through Thursday at 11 a.m. I've had a lot of doctor's things because of a surgery I had. And that's why you see this bar behind me. It just, I'm in this kind of cast. So I needed to kind of pull myself up. So sometimes I've had but I try and, come on at 11 a.m. when I can. 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Michael. I try and keep to that. Today I was an hour late just because I had all of these positions on, and, I just needed to concentrate on, certain things here. So daily at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will try. Sometimes, like I said, I've had just a lot of doctor's appointments recently. So Bitcoin, I don't know, man. I don't know. There's probably a dead cat bounce where you bounce from, you've had a pretty good bounce from 30 to 40. You need to kind of get over these highs around 43,000, I think, to start going back up. So I don't know. If you haven't made your money on Bitcoin, I would kind of leave that alone. I don't care if it goes to $100,000. I can't trade something that I can't understand. So, and when I say understand, it's not, first off, I don't know what drives the value of Bitcoin other than just perception and momentum. And then it just has such a quirky history. So to me, I like to, when I've been trading the dollar yen, I've been looking at a pattern going back all the way 5 years ago. With Bitcoin, the history is just, goes from 2 cents to 40 grand, back to 4 grand, back to 60,000. So I can't, assess what, that kind of carnival ride is. It's just a flip of a coin. So, Michael, you're welcome. So Gma, I don't know if Bitcoin's broken. I probably tend to trade Ether. To me, that seems like there's more of an underlying utility for that, if there's such a thing with these things. And seems like Ether now trades much more robustly relative to Bitcoin. So if I was going to trade one coin, although, this is pretty broken too. I'm not trading it. I'm not trading it. QuantumScapes is about as ludicrous as I'll get, and that's not. I mean, I'll gamble on anything, but once Bitcoin got to $40,000-$50,000, I'm not gonna trade something that I have no idea what the risk is. That's the thing. You wake up one day and it's down 30%. How do you, put a stop loss on your position on that? You don't know where it is. So the reason why I was so successful with QuantumScape is that when I got short at 37, I thought that I had no risk. There was some price bars there that went to about $39. So when I got in at 37, I could see my risk was to about 39. So I could actually gauge what my risk reward was. So my thinking was I had a $2 risk for a $10 to $15, upside. And that's exactly what it turned out to be. But I could quantify my risk. How could you quantify your risk in this? It could be anything tomorrow. be up 15%, down 22%. So the whole thing about trading is being able to assess your risk. If I get in here, what is my risk? And once I can understand my risk, then my position size will grow based on how big or small. So with pound New Zealand, you've got a 400 pip range. So I'm long, but I give it all kinds of room. So I'm not going to put on a huge position because I don't really know where my risk is. But like with Tesla today, when I bought it at 603, I knew my risk was to 595. I had an $8 risk for a $200 upside. So once I can understand that relationship and get comfortable with that, then that's how I kind of, get into these positions. But if I'm buying Bitcoin here at 40,000, where's my cutoff? 38,000, 32, 28,000? It could be anything. I could put it at 34,000 and it went to $30,000 the other, last week. So if you can't quantify your risk, then stay away from it. And if your risk is just too big, then, I try and find, relationships where the risk reward is at least 3-to-1 in my favor. If I have a $5 risk in Tesla, I want to see that I'm going to make at least $15 and have a 3-to-1 risk reward. But it's all about understanding where that risk is in the first place. And with Bitcoin, it could be 18 grand tomorrow or it could be 62,000. So if I can't understand that relationship, how can I trade it? So Edith says, when you lost in your trade, how do you feel? I feel so liberated. So when I was 19 years old, I had this trading mentor, Graham Loving. Guy wore an eye patch. He was really a weird guy, very quiet, very idiosyncratic personality. He was trading all these, commodities market. And that was like the first time that I've been introduced to technical trading and seeing the markets and whatever. And he said something to me, and it took me about 40 years to understand what he meant. I thought this guy was out of his mind. He says, Mark, you have to learn to love a loss. And today, I love my loss in AYX. I took a $50,000 bath in AYX, and I felt so liberated because now that name is off my board. I've been looking at that thing going up and down for a week now, going in my favor, not going in my favor. And now I'm liberated. That name is off my board. May revisit it at some point. But then it freed me up to see the Beyond Meat. It freed me up to see the Tesla. And I lost 50 grand in AYX, and I'm probably up $150,000 on all this other shit today. So it sounds so counterintuitive. I loved getting out of AYX. I love just cleaning that off. So learn to love a loss. Sounds crazy. And that's what happens. And I remember, I'm, an ego guy, and trading is all about, getting in a fight with your own ego. So we get in these positions for whatever reason. Now it starts going against us, and now we're just praying for it to go back to even. And it bleeds more, and your whole objective is just to get out even. So now you're willing to risk so much more just to get out even. Where, and so what happens is two things. First off, it creates so much stress, consumes all your attention. Now your eyes are glued to the screen. Your eyes are bleeding. You don't leave there till midnight 1. You're just praying for this thing. So that's number one. You're stressing out. And number two, you're foregoing, it's a huge opportunity cost. So if I just, stayed with AYX and, now I'm still peeling and I'm like, every time it goes up, I'm just like a knife in my chest. But now I'm missing out on the BYND. I'm missing out on Tesla and, missing out on other opportunities. So it works against you in two ways. So I clean the losses out very quickly. It's like I look at the trade setup. Is the trade setup still working? Fine, stay with it. Or if it's not, dump it and move on. And I don't look at the wins and I don't look at the losses. I don't know how much I really lost in AYX. Probably around 50. I don't know. It could have been 40. It could have been 70. I don't really know. And similarly with the wins, I have monster wins and that just dumps in my account. And then I go and look at the next setup. So I kind of just look at the purity of the markets and, try and, be in the right setups at the right time. Chris says, I was taking out a pound New Zealand today, 300 pips. Well, if you kept your risk to 0.5%, that's what I tell my, members. Risk 0.5% on your trades. And that way it doesn't matter how big a risk how big a loss you have. If you have 10 losses at 0.5%, you've lost 5% of your account. And then one trade, you could make 20%. So you have 11 trades, 10 losers, and you're still up 10%. Gamas says, what is your target on Tesla? Probably at least 640 to 660. I don't know about today, but, in the next couple of days. So Wolfgang says he's up 180 pips on pound New Zealand, going both short and long. So yeah, I've just been buying pound New Zealand. Every time it kind of comes off, I just, I have a position. I told you sometimes I don't put stop losses. I have a mental stop loss. I suppose if this thing started getting under 190, it would change, my feeling on it. But this thing, pound New Zealand, I'm talking about. Yeah, I mean, it looks horrible today, but it looked horrible in that slide back in April, went from 198 to 192. I think the 192 should hold, but it may not. So frankly, it doesn't really occupy a whole lot of my attention. I don't use log charts, Pedro. I just use. So did Mark Zuckerberg buy Bitcoin? I don't know. I don't care. So again, you can't follow anybody. You got to do your own work and figure out what your risk reward is and what your comfort level is, on a given trade. It's all about risk and reward. And it's all about the risk. If you understand your risk, then the reward will take care of itself. So I try and dial to trade. So I saw that BYND and TSLA both yesterday had these, what I call inside day bars, where the range of both Tesla and BYND from high to low sat within the range of their previous days. So I surmised if they broke above the inside day bars that, they would go higher. And the nice thing about the inside day bar is that you understand where your risk is and it's, very low. So my risk reward, when I buy BYND at 121, my risk was, I don't know what yesterday's low was, but call it 116. So I had like a $5 risk, and I think this thing could go up $50. So, if you understand your risk, the reward will take care of yourself. So I don't know where it'll go up to. If it goes up $10, if it goes up 15, if it goes up 30, I don't know. But, if I know where I'm getting in and where my risk is, wherever it goes from now, the upside will take care of itself. But I knew that I had a very limited risk when I, was buying that even in the pre-market session. So BYND was selling off. It's starting to come back up. I think this thing explodes. All right, guys, I think I'm going to love and leave you there. Have a great, healthy, and prosperous trading day. And I'll try and be back tomorrow.